Yes, so I was saying that the brief presentation by Bida highlighted some of the expectations that most of you, the participants, put across as you filled in the form. And I realized that majority of you showed interest and expectations mostly to do with the stress management and mental health and things like that, which we will cover tomorrow. In today's session, as already introduced, we will be talking mostly about personal well-being and highlighting a few health tips that we will be going through. Having said that, I think in the interest of time, let us go straight to the presentation. Bida, do you recommend I keep my video on or I can switch it off?
You can keep it on so that we see you, man.
Okay, fine. If you say so.
Yeah, we want to see you. Keep it on.
Right, no problem. Yeah, so just to save time, let's go straight to the presentation. These are slides definitely put together by myself, and they are meant for the interest of this audience online today. That is the EFSS audience. So although we will share, and of course, once we share, you can always share with other colleagues, right? Before I even proceed any further, I would like to make it clear that whatever information I will share with you today and tomorrow will mostly and entirely be for your own health awareness and information purposes. I do not expect any of you, especially if you are not a medical personnel, to use this information and be, satisfied enough to begin making your own personal diagnosis of yourself or a family member or anyone because you attended this. This is not medical training as such. And I do not expect you to begin prescribing to yourself medications after these 2-day sessions. Please, that is a very important disclaimer that you need to take note of. I would also want to say that online, I have seen a few people, including some of them that I know personally are medical practitioners or personnel. I'll be very glad to also hear from them when time comes, making additions, comments, and maybe even asking questions. All right. So this is a quick knowledge check of each of you who is online now. Let's begin with the first question. Please make use of your chat box. What do you think is well-being? Our topic for discussion today. Kindly drop in the chat box what your own understanding of well-being is, and let me have a few responses, please. What is well-being according to you? Has anybody been hearing me at all? What is well-being?
Do you need us to talk or maybe just put in the chat?
I was thinking putting in the chat box would be fine. However, if someone wants to use a few seconds to speak, I would also allow.
Yeah, you can just put up your hand. You can raise your hand and then we can choose you.
Somebody has sent it, but privately to me, and is saying well-being means being healthy. I would prefer you put it to everyone.
Yes, Angel.
Yes? Bida?
Angel, you're welcome.
Okay, somebody has put up their hand. Well-being is the state of being healthy, emotionally, financially, and physically. Other opinions? Yes, Pius. What do you think is well-being? All right, so I will take those 4 first hands up there. Pius, after Pius is John Mabe. Is that Angel or Angel? And then we'll, please, the rest you type in the chat box. What is your understanding of well-being? Pius? Yes, Pius, you are unmuted. Yes, can you speak?
Yeah, well-being actually means being free from distress.
Free of distress, thank you. John Mabe?
To me,
I can define well-being as a state of being mentally healthy and actually also physically healthy. And I think because when we're talking about diseases, it's not it's not merely the absence of pathogens in the body, but if you don't have pathogens in the body and you're mentally free, I think this is a personal well-being. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Angel, or is it Angel? That name?
Yeah, this is Angel.
Angel, right?
Yes. According well-being is a state of being comfortable, happy, or healthy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe lastly, Moro, what is your opinion?
Yeah, to me,
Yes, Moro?
yes, I was saying, it's, to me, according to me, it's an improved state of life.
But you are quite very low. I was not able to hear you.
Hello?
Yes, is that Moro?
Yes, yes.
Aha, louder now. What did you say is well-being?
Yeah. I was saying, according to me, is an improved state of life.
Improved state of life. Thank you. So all of you can lower your hands. I've also read a few responses in the chat box. I appreciate all of you who have shared your opinions on the first question. What are some of the forms of well-being that you know? That is the second question. I'll try to answer that because some of you have really tried answering them in the chat box, mentally, physically, and so on, being healthy. We will see in the next slides coming up how to find the slightest of differences between well-being and being healthy. It may not necessarily mean the same thing as such. Number 3, please let me hear opinions from you. How would you ensure your own personal well-being? Any feedback? Well, you are saying you can't hear everyone. I think it could be your settings, that side of yours, because we've been interacting and hearing each other. Any opinion on number 3? How do you ensure your personal well-being? Pius, is that a new hand or the old one? Okay, Christopher Lemmy, how do you ensure your personal well-being?
By taking full responsibility and taking full responsibility and accountability for myself.
Okay, that sounds to be a very pregnant point that may need to be broken into pieces. Right, Romeo, how do you ensure your personal well-being?
So for me, I try to ensure my personal well-being by one, understanding my limits and my pointers in terms of like what makes me happy, what makes me sad, and then knowing like how I react towards some particular issues. So there, I try to take it by doing exercises, eating well, working hard, of course, looking for money because I love money, and a couple of other things that I do as well to make myself happy.
Thank you, Romeo. Right, thanks so much for those opinions on how you can ensure your personal well-being. At the end of this presentation, I will answer question number 4 because I do not expect some of you to know what to do to remain healthy. There are certain medical tests and procedures that you might want to have to help you ensure or be sure that you either are healthy or you have some other health problems. And we will look at that as the last bit of the session. Right, so thanks so much for those opinions. We will see in the slides coming up whatever opinions you have put across and where they fall. So in this presentation today, we will look at general well-being, what it is, And the different forms of well-being that really some of you have been able to hint upon are over here. Being physical well-being, be it emotional, occupational, social and cultural, intellectual, financial, environmental, all these are forms of well-being that for somebody to really 100% say, okay, maybe not 100%, 99% say that they are healthy or they have good well-being, they should encompass all these things. So you can begin to imagine how difficult in our lives it is that we can be, we can have well-being, we can have bodily well-being. It might be so difficult that you have to have all these things in good shape for you to say, this is my well-being. And then, as I said, we'll look at wellness packages for different ages, sexes, and then we'll be able to understand what do you need to do for who at what age to remain healthy. I'd like to begin this presentation really with this quote from somebody, not really somebody, I think it's a charter. It says that health is created and lived by people within the settings of their everyday life, where they learn, work, play, and love. I think you should internalize this and even begin to ask yourself, am I healthy? If I'm a student at university or wherever, am I really enjoying some health there where I learn? If I already am working, that's my workplace, give me health, playing, loving, and so on. So I think you should be internalizing this and begin looking at yourself and, checking your own life, and you can be able to tell whether you indeed have any well-being or not. Right, so well-being as such has not been defined in a very single form that we can say this is the definition of well-being, but there have been concepts put across by different people. Number one is a very common thing that is studied in psychology called the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. As we shall see in the next slide, this hierarchy grades persons' needs, individuals' needs according to importance. And we shall see that majority of the people, their needs are basic. And then from there, they progress to the top, where mostly very few people can really reach the hierarchy, the tip of the hierarchy, as we shall see. So it has been believed that considering the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, well-being improves as somebody climbs the ladder or the next stages of the needs level. If your needs or my needs at the moment are the basic needs, I am very unlikely to really have a very healthy or live a very high standard of well-being that we would expect. We will look at that and maybe discuss a little more. I didn't want to just read through this. As we said, we will share the slides and you can find time and read. Another concept is by these two people, according to their conclusion, that well-being is a composite measure of how good an individual feels at the physical, mental, and social level. How do you feel physically? How do you feel mentally, socially? All these levels put together and measured up will determine your well-being. These are just concepts, once again, that try to explain what well-being is about. And back to the Maslow's hierarchy. So at the baseline of this cone, where you see the widest, the widest triangle, may not, yes, it is part of the triangle. So these physiological needs, which include air, simply air that we breathe. If somebody cuts off your breath, like you can't breathe, then you are likely to die in the next few minutes. Water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, reproduction, all these are considered physiological needs, and all of us, everybody needs them. But this triangular shape of this hierarchy actually represents how many people in the world depend on, are still struggling for these needs and the next level of needs and the next. As I said, very few people perhaps in the world are in the self-actualization stage of their needs. So as an individual, when you already have enough of the physiological needs, automatically you will want to have the next, which are personal security, employment, resources, health, property. And once you achieve these, you will want the next and the next and the next. By the time you reach here, you are likely to have a general well-being. And that is what the hierarchy, Maslow's hierarchy of needs really says. Right, trying to understand well-being again. It is a subjective state of being healthy, happy, contented, comfortable, and satisfied with one's life. These 4 adjectives, if you try to put them together, maybe 5, being healthy, happy, contented, comfortable, satisfied, you will realize that almost all of us in this call might not really say we are living any happy or healthy life as such, right? Because there's a lot that we need in our lives before we conclude that we have that general well-being of our lives. Some of you have put this definition in the chat box earlier. The World Health Organization has defined health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So here in this definition by WHO, you will realize that actually well-being is part of health. Okay, so well-being is actually part of health. Positive mental health, again, has been defined by the World Health Organization as a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. This is when you say somebody has positive mental health. Is somebody trying to talk to me? If not, kindly mute, right? So these are just concepts. Again, I repeat, concepts trying to explain to us what well-being is. Pius, your hand is up. You want to say something? I've seen some people complain in the chat box, slide looks so tiny. Is that the same with you, Bida?
No, it is okay. I think some of them are joining from a phone, so but then we'll share the slides later.
Sure.
Just pay close attention. Yeah, the explanation.
Yeah. All right, thanks. I'm not seeing you, John. You are not seeing me, Mabe. I think my video is...
Even me, I'm not seeing you. It's just dark.
Why? My video is on. Huh? You see that my video is on, Bida? If you click on the participants.
Yeah, your video is on. Your video is on, but then it is just dark. It's dark.
Ah.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm not seeing you.
So you want me to go and present from outside at the veranda?
No. You can just leave. Just continue. Just turn off the video and continue with the presentation.
Right. Okay. Sorry about that interruption. Fine. All right. So another concept of well-being is that it has been defined as the combination of feeling good and functioning well. So all these concepts, if you try to understand them, none of them is so clear-cut for anyone to say that, oh, today I've woken up and I think I have well-being, you know. It's not so clear-cut. The experience of positive emotions such as happiness and contentment, as well as the development of one's potential, having some control over one's life, having a sense of purpose, and experiencing positive relationships. So this person defined well-being as such a concept. Again, it is so broad, it brings in a lot of things that it becomes so difficult to specify that, yeah, now today I have well-being, you know. We all have mental health just as we have physical health. Mental health will always move up and down along a spectrum from good to poor. And considering how much time we spend at work, it is important that we realize that the workplace environment and culture also affects our well-being, right? So every Monday to Friday that you're going to work, please know that where you work, whom you interact with at work, the amount of work you do, and every bit of the workplace practices, all these end up affecting our well-being in one way or the other. So those are just concepts to try to understand what well-being is, and from the responses you had already provided earlier, you can tell what is going on and whether you really have well-being or not. Okay, so let's look at some of the forms of well-being we talked about. Physical well-being. So physical well-being is about being aware of your body as anybody can see it, the outside of it, and of what it needs to remain fit and healthy throughout your lifetime. That is physical well-being. Be aware of your body. Well, the body that we see outside, but also the body that you feel inside you. Being aware of it. How do you maintain it and keep it fit and healthy throughout your life? That becomes your physical well-being. It is about taking care of your physical body so that you are able to carry out your daily activities as well as possible. Okay. When you feel that physically well, many times it has a significant impact on your mental health as well. Being physically well will include paying attention to your diet and physical activity levels. It also includes monitoring your stress levels, your use of alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. All these can affect your physical health, and then you may not have physical well-being as such, okay? So how can somebody maintain physical well-being? Some tips. As we already mentioned, physical activity, exercising. It is recommended that every one of us should exercise at least 30 minutes of moderate to vigorous activity. This could be jogging, running around, you know, that kind of activity. At least
I think I'm not hearing it.
Yeah, sorry about that. Looks like facing some network challenges, but he's back.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. I think you had a network issue.
Yeah, I had that. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so I was saying about physical activity, exercising for everybody, 30 minutes every day is recommended of moderate to vigorous activity. That could be jogging, running around, playing football and things like that. However, if somebody cannot afford the daily routine, three times a week, 1 hour each is also a very good physical activity that can help us have physical well-being, okay? If you work at an office where most of the time you are seated at a desk, then you need to aim at getting up every maybe 2 hours, get up, stretch around, move around regularly, and do this throughout the day. Or anytime you really feel you have sat too long and you are exhausted, get up, stretch around, and get back to work after maybe 5 to 10 minutes of stretching. That helps you maintain your physical well-being. Plan and prepare healthy foods. Healthy foods, unfortunately, for majority of people today, is either chicken and chips. It's either whatever is fast foods people think is healthy foods, but really healthy foods are mostly traditional foods. These foods with very little or no oils put in them. You know, you should be preparing such foods and eating them. Such are more healthy to the body than the many foods we take with a lot of oil most times. Of course, when we talk of food, we should also include things like water. People need to take plenty of water, especially if you live in hot environments such as Juba. Fruits, fresh juice, fruits, very helpful to the body. Balanced diet. I believe that all of us in this call may remember what balanced diet is, but having some bit of carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, all combined in every meal, that is what we call a balanced diet. So every time we check on what we eat and how much we eat will help us also have physical well-being. Be aware of your alcohol consumption, and you should aim to stay below the maximum. Now, alcohol consumption is one thing that is very controversial, depending on where you are and what the discussion is. But it has been noted that moderate or minimal alcohol consumption is actually healthy, okay? And again, this is dependent on the concentration of the alcohol you are talking about, and different governments and different countries recommend different levels of alcohol amount to take per week, for example. In Australia, they recommend 10 for men and 4 drinks, what they call standard drinks for women per week, okay? So if anybody is now drinking beyond this becomes excessive alcohol consumption, other than what we say is moderate alcohol consumption. So I'll leave that debate to any of you to look at it. However, when we talk of smoking, especially cigarette and even shisha and others, smoking really has been not found to have any good effect on the body, and therefore people are recommended to really stop smoking. And I will still also recommend the same in this call. So that is physical well-being. You could be thinking of other tips of how you could really stay healthy physically, but these are a few that just open your mind up. Regarding emotional well-being, again, the WHO has provided a definition for it, as we already mentioned earlier, as a positive state of well-being, which enables an individual to be able to function in society and meet the demands of everyday life. Function in society, meet the demands of everyday life. Once you have issues in your life that make you unable to function well, okay, make you unable to do your daily routine activities or even contribute to society issues and development, that becomes a problem probably to do with emotional well-being, affecting your function. In emotional well-being, we are talking about somebody being aware of their thoughts and feelings and how they affect their behavior. Okay? By being aware of your emotions and how they impact you, you are likely to be able to respond rather than react to your daily challenges and demands. I just had to highlight that respond rather than react. Many times we tend to, react to issues when they have happened. But when we are aware of issues, or we can foretell that something is going to happen, and then we mitigate such from happening, we are likely to actually avoid it or overcome it when it happens. So that is responding rather than reacting when things have gone wrong. Resilience, being able to cope with daily challenges and demands and managing stress are all part of emotional well-being. However, as we will talk a lot about stress tomorrow and trauma, you should remember that stress is actually a normal part of everyday living, okay? All of us who are alive, we will experience stress, and some of the stress we experience is actually helpful because it informs us of what to do. It is sometimes a bodily communication to us. One example is, for example, thirst, okay? If you begin to feel thirsty, somewhere your body is feeling stressed because it is lacking water. And so you will have to take water and then the thirst will go away, right? So there are some of us who only wait to get thirsty before they take water, right? So some form of stress is a normal thing, it's a normal part of our everyday life. However, we all need some stress to motivate us, as I said. However, when stress becomes chronic or constant, it can become a serious health risk to all of us, and therefore our well-being will be affected. And so when you learn how to manage your stress, okay, you will be able to take good self-care of yourself. You can reach out for support whenever you need it because you have known that you are going down the stress road, so you will be able to maintain your emotional well-being by doing such. How do you do that? Some tips. Making an effort to connect with the colleagues, family, and friends is very helpful for your emotional well-being. Every time you feel you are down because of one thing or another, please try to get in touch with the people, connect with the colleagues, family, and friends. Let them know what you are going through. Sometimes they will be really very helpful, and that can be a good thing for your emotional health, okay? Being clear about your work role, responsibilities, and capabilities will likely reduce the stress at work, okay? Other than if you just wake up every day and you go to work, you don't know what your deliverable for the day, for the week, for the month are, and you're just there, and then everybody just throws everything at you. You become stressed, and emotionally, your well-being will be affected. Ask for help whenever you need it, right? Especially at the workplace, whether it is your line manager or other colleagues. And this is very common when you land a new job, and you may have been experienced from somewhere, yes, but this is still a new environment. You might not know ABCDs. Don't keep it to yourself. Always ask for help. Recognizing your signs of stress and prioritizing self-care. Okay, and when you do that, you are likely to avoid stress. Okay, one other thing that some people actually don't take serious is sleeping. Okay, plenty of sleep and allowing time for the body to recharge and relax is really helpful to emotional well-being. Other than when you, yeah, I know life is hard, economic situation is biting everybody. Sometimes we want to put an extra mile to whatever we do daily in the hustle. But yeah, we should also always have at the back of our minds that the body will need to rest through sleep, and therefore is important for our emotional well-being. Again, being physically active every day, like we said earlier, physical well-being can contribute to your emotional well-being. Having hobbies and or pastimes. So when you begin to feel emotionally down and you know one of your hobbies is maybe going to swim, and you know there is a nearby river where you don't need to pay money to swim, go there and pass some time. Swim and then come back. It will relax your body, you feel happy, and the emotional well-being will hopefully come back. Creating opportunities to learn new skills, and I will really say thank you to EFSS, Bida and the team, for this opportunity you give people freely to learn online at their comfort of their houses, many skills and so much knowledge. And I really appreciate all of you, of course, who signed up for these today's and tomorrow's sessions, because this is one way you can actually improve and maintain emotional well-being. Learn. There's no limit to learning, and the brain is so well developed that it can take every information in the world without you falling sick because of having so much information, right? Meeting new people and having new experiences, especially if it is your hobby, good for you. Meet some people, it might improve your emotional well-being. And then, of course, we said that when you care for your physical well-being, your emotional well-being most likely becomes improved as well. Third form of well-being, occupational. And as Bida said, some of you in this call are, or in this webinar, actually entry-level professionals or already working somewhere. So how do you maintain occupational well-being? It is about feeling sufficiently skilled and capable of fulfilling your day-to-day employment with the opportunity for learning, progression, and growth in a safe, healthy, and supportive work environment. That is occupational well-being. You may have heard of people who just landed a job, signed a contract, but resigned a few weeks into the job. Many of them actually realize they are either not skilled enough or knowledgeable enough to deliver, you know, and it happens. So they may have suffered occupational lack of occupational well-being at that moment that they started the new job, and therefore for their own safety and also not to wait to be fired, they choose to resign, you know. So at the place you work, if you feel you are sufficiently skilled, you are capable, and you can actually do every deliverable that is before you, you are likely to have occupational well-being, and more so if the work environment is safe, healthy, and supportive. There are some of us who work in really hard to reach areas, very insecure. It is very difficult for such people to have complete occupational well-being, even if they are really skilled and knowledgeable enough. How do we improve occupational well-being? We should learn about the support and benefit that is available to us at that particular workplace. So if I need, for example, to buy something, maybe a stationery for some activity of mine, who can support me in that? You know, you need to have that knowledge that if I need this kind of support, I go here or I go to so and so, you know, and whatever benefits that are available to you can also help you have occupational well-being. Attend induction days. These are very important for newcomers at every workplace. I would recommend, if you are in this call and you are somebody who recruits people, please take induction of new staff seriously, because it is one way they begin to feel being a part of the environment, knowing where to go for what reasons and who to ask for what help. You know, it's really helpful and very important because it will help them have build their occupational well-being. There could be mid-career or pre-retirement seminars depending on the work environment. If they are there, please attend, because you always will learn, you interact, and will help improve your occupational well-being. Stretching often, if you are desk-based, as we already said, you will be able to do well. Use your leave days, ladies and gentlemen. There are some of us who will want to, they are not feeling well, but they feel like, but I think let me just go to work. It's just malaria. Sometimes we tend to undermine certain sicknesses, but the Ministry of Labor, for example, in South Sudan, I've seen that some of you in this call are, there's one from Tanzania and I don't know, Kenyan, Ugandan, but in South Sudan, the Ministry of Labor allows people to take sick leave days. You have 12 days for sickness, sick leave days, I mean, in a year. So if you have malaria and you want to really stretch your body further because you want to work, that's not nice. You will not actually be doing well at work, and you won't have any occupational well-being if you force yourself to work when you are sick. Please let us use our sick leave days and have occupational well-being. Those are just a few tips. We talked about social and cultural well-being. This refers to your ability to interact with the people around you and to create connections that support you in your daily life. How do you interact with the people where you work? It may not be your home area that you're working at now. How do you interact with the people there? How well do you know the culture of the people there so that you interact with them within the cultural makeup of that society and you don't cross boundaries, So how well you're able to do that will determine your social and cultural well-being, okay? When you maintain such links, having and maintaining social and community links of support, and this could be friendships, any other form of relationships, maybe at the work with the manager and, or rather maybe supervisor-supervisee relationship. It may be family relationships, colleagues, you have a club, maybe a sports club or whatever club that you have formed, or any other form of group. If you have such links and support, it will be really helpful. Important for maintaining positive Thank you. Please mute.
Doctor?
Yes.
Yeah, you just check around people who are not muted and then you mute them because you are the host.
Yeah, that's what I've thought about. Please, if you are hearing me, kindly mute so that I'm not the one to do it on your behalf. Okay, please do that if you are not muted. Right. Thank you. So I think that I've muted everybody now. That's all right.
It's okay
you
now.
have not muted one person.
Okay, can you hear me? Ida, can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
Yeah,
yes, we can hear you.
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you.
Great, thanks. Okay, so please mute again until we tell you to do so. Right, so we were talking about having such relationships, social and community or cultural relationships. They are very important for maintaining positive health and well-being, sense of belonging and being valued and cared for. So every now and then, beginning with your family, please create those relationships that you support each other, you look out for each other, and you actually care for each other. Such network will provide opportunities for sharing, talking, having fun, learning, and getting and giving support. Especially when you begin to feel emotionally down or whatever well-being that is being affected, you can always depend on such important relationships to help you out. However, you should note that your social well-being sometimes is impacted by your cultural well-being, right? What may be applicable to us socially as South Sudanese or as Africans may not be applicable to, for example, Europeans or Americans. You know, our cultures have a lot in differences. So it may also affect our social well-being. But again, I'll take you back that when you are aware of whatever you are or who you are and whatever situation and environment and culture there is, you should be able to beforehand adapt and be able to live with people in a very nice way and have your social and cultural well-being preserved. Some tips for social and cultural well-being: engaging in social groups, okay, especially where you belong, right? And then always you should aim at forging new connections, new friendships. Where it is available, join or establish a club, a group, an organization, or a class. It could be about sports, book, music, whatever. It could be about a reading club, readers club. Create one and agree to a schedule that every Saturday at this time we are meeting for this, we are meeting to read this or that, or play this game and that. You know, it could be faith-based for those of you who subscribe to certain faiths, right? Go and encourage yourselves with the word of God here and there. It could be arts, anything. If you can join or establish one, it maintains your social and cultural well-being. Staff events and activities, if that is there in your workplace, please participate. Don't feel you are not part of this, or you don't belong there, or you feel you are, you know, you have low self-esteem. Always participate. Volunteering in your local community is one very good way to connect with the people and improve social and cultural well-being. Taking up a new hobby, learning a new skill that involves, for example, meeting other people, learning about and sharing with the other cultures within your workplace and community. So if you've spent 3 months plus in a certain place, you should be able to know a good deal of the culture of the people in that place. You know, that's really helpful. Yeah, so learning and sharing with the other cultures, okay? You can also sign up for personal development courses. They could be online, they could be physically available near you, things that just add to your knowledge and skill. It may be another way to create social and cultural well-being. Intellectual well-being. Now, this is about getting personal and professional fulfillment in your work, while you also maintain balance in your lives outside of the work, okay? Like I said, some of us, of course, who may not have work or job, we often look for it with all the zeal and all the vigor. And then when we get it, we want to forget that life is beyond the workplace or the work we do, right? There's a lot outside of our work that we should also balance with the work, okay? So that will help us with the intelligence well-being. It is also about expanding your knowledge and skills and engaging in creative and mentally stimulating activities, such as this webinar today. For many of you who may not be of medical background in terms of your training or professions, you will see that by the end of tomorrow's session, there may be a lot of information that you have learned newly that would have helped you to open up your mind, and you become more intellectual in dealing with your own life situations and challenges, okay? So that would be intellectual well-being. Some tips for that include access. You should access a range of online learning and professional work hubs. I think we might know a lot of them that are there. Some of them require money, others are free. Please access them and learn. Seek out and request opportunities to attend continuing professional development events. For example, if you belong to a certain profession and you know that that profession has a certain professional development course that is ongoing, maybe weekly or something, you should seek out for such opportunities and attend them. Even if they require a little bit of payment and you can afford, pay it, you know, pay it. And for the sake of grace from Tanzania, I would like to say that in 2019, October, I went to Dar es Salaam for my first and last time to attend a conference for 3 days in Muhimbili Hospital for emergency medicine. It was organized by the Emergency Medicine Association of Tanzania. So look out for these opportunities, even if they cost you something. But yeah, you see places, new places, you learn a few things about the place, you meet new friends, and this could be one way that will open more doors for you in the near future. You never know, right? So seek out and request such opportunities. Be receptive to new ways of looking at things. And I just added this. It is not always a 6. Sometimes it is a 9. Okay, it is not always a figure 6. Sometimes it is a figure 9. For you to maintain your intellectual well-being and for you to actually grow it, don't be so rigid to what you already know and you think that is it, right? Like what you know is figure 6, somebody else somewhere is seeing it as figure 9. So if you open up your mind and accept and receive more, information, more skills, new ways of doing things, there is high likelihood that you will have a very good intellectual well-being, because you always challenge your intellect to improve and you have well-being. Financial well-being, I know that this is very interesting. Last weekend, as Bida mentioned earlier, we had the training on personal financial management, and those who were in that training can agree with me that, we didn't finish. We didn't finish basically because of the interest people have when it comes to finances. So what is your financial well-being? Is simply being aware of your money and being able to manage and plan your finances by balancing, saving, and spending efficiently and within one's means. If my means that I have, I mean my money, my source of income that I have now, can only afford for me a rental house, for example, in Kapuri. For those of you who are in Juba or those who are South Sudanese, you might know where Kapuri is, right? Then let me go to Kapuri and just live within my means, other than forcing myself to maybe live in Juba Nabari or Tongping area, a certain high-end area within Juba, which may cost me a big fortune of what I actually earn. So let me also take care of my financial well-being and spend efficiently and within my means. Sometimes some of us really, the lifestyles we live, we tend to think because so and so does this, I should also be able to do it. Even if he or she is your colleague and you may have grown up together, gone to school together and all this, not because they do this, you should also do, right? You should be able to take care of your own financial well-being. Sometimes for some employees, there may be financial benefits and supports that are available. Some workplaces actually give people loans at a very reduced price, interest. You should be able to know also this and know whether you can benefit from this, right? It is important you should understand your own personal situation and what you might require to have good financial well-being. I'll leave that for now here because I know the financial management webinar will come. I will encourage people to attend and learn much more from the experts. Tips for financial well-being. Okay, you should know how much are you entitled to at the end of the month or the day or the hour. If you are paid per hour, per day, or per month, you should know what is your financial entitlement, okay, and what responsibilities and supports are available to you financially. Okay. For those who receive pay slips, check it and confirm that it is exactly what you signed for, right? Stay up to date with your tax requirements and entitlements. Many of us tend to dodge taxes, maybe sometimes out of frustration that the tax you pay doesn't even come back to you in any way. But it is always important and helpful to be legally safe that you pay your taxes as they are due from you, right? Familiarize yourself with your pension entitlements, benefits. Know them. By the end of this contract, what am I entitled to? Make sure you know it, because then somebody may not cheat you at the end. Avail of financial advice should you require it. There are many people around us who are financially experts, maybe of financial background, and maybe actually practicing in the financial sector, right, or industry. Seek advice when you need it, and it will help you have financial well-being. Important, of course, is to save. Last week, we were talking about saving from whatever earning you have. Save some, but Apart from saving, it will be even much better to invest, because investment will multiply what you have at hand. Right. Environmental well-being. I don't want to open the Pandora's box in this call, and I don't want to ask your opinions on this. But before I discuss environmental well-being, for those who are South Sudanese, you should be thinking about this question, whether this should happen or not, right? And for those who are not South Sudanese, maybe just a small background that there is a large swampy area in this country that the government and another government are planning to dredge it. And there is a lot of debate, especially on the social media, whether this should happen or not. Environmental well-being, what do you think? Keep your answer to yourself. Should this happen or not? But when we talk about environmental well-being, we are talking about your surroundings, how you interact with them, will impact on your health and well-being, okay? Having a safe and healthy work environment is therefore essential. Even if the text here says work environment, I would also want to say healthy, safe and healthy home environment, okay? Because most times we work for 8 hours in a day, and that means about 16 hours or so we are at home. And therefore, every environment we interact with, we should actually try to make sure it is safe and healthy so that we can attain environmental well-being. Being aware of how to reduce risks and hazards and how to access support to help you do so is fundamental to your well-being, okay? What are the risks and hazards around your environment? For example, where you stay, do you see a naked wire? If you see it, what do you think about it? And assuming that there is electricity passing by or passing through that naked wire. This is actually a potential what? Risk for a certain serious hazard to happen. So you should be aware of your environment, look around, think of what may not be good, what may be risky, what may become a potential hazard and things like that. Please take care of that and make sure you have environmental well-being. What are some tips to attain that? Adhere to healthy and safety guidelines, including hygiene and infection control measures. Certain governments tend to put out guidelines every now and then regarding environmental safety. Others say do not use polythene bags. Others say do not discard. Recently, for those who are following things in Juba or Central Equatoria, there was a gubernatorial order from the governor of Central Equatoria State saying dumping will be fined. I don't know, I don't remember now, is it 20,000 South Sudanese pounds or something? So such guidelines, adhere to them, right? Because you will not fall a victim of such one day. Because one day you might throw an empty bottle somehow, somewhere, and then somebody catches you and says, okay, this order was put, didn't you hear? You find yourself in hot soup. Environmental well-being. Another tip is being aware of potential risks and hazards and minimize them as far as possible. I've given an example of a naked wire. There could be many others, right, that you should be able to think about. You can also aim to contribute to an overall healthier work environment by consciously making an effort to protect our wider environmental resources through sustainable practices. For example, if you have meetings, regular meetings, try to put some agenda item regarding environmental health and safety, where you have the ability to maybe drink water from the workplace or tea, instead of using disposable cups, glasses, and so on, you should prefer reusable, because then the same ones you can wash and use them again and again, and that keeps your environment friendly. Turning off non-essential equipment, lighting, and appliances when they are not in use. Many times you might realize you leave the office and you have left the air conditioner on. For those of you who have the chance to work in an air-conditioned room, some of you leave the bulbs, the lights on, the fans, such things. They can become really hazardous when one day things go wrong. Turn them off when they are not in use or when you don't need them. Segregate waste into appropriate waste streams and conserve water where it is possible. If you can walk to work, your workplace is nearby, or you have a bicycle and you can just ride there and come back on it, it is really very helpful first to you as a person and also to the environment, other than burning these fossil fuels every now and then. And we all know prices have even hiked and it has become more costly. So if it is available and possible, do that. Up to here, I would like us to have like maybe 5 minutes reflection on whatever I've captured so far before I go on to discuss the wellness package, which is mostly medical checkups, things like that. Any reflections somebody wants to share with us regarding what we have captured so far? I'm trying to check what is in the chat box. Bida, please help me moderate if there's someone with a hand up and allow them to speak.
Yeah, great. Yeah, you can just put up your hand.
Sorry?
I'm saying they can put up their hands and then we see.
Yeah, as I get to know what is in the chat box. Samuel Mandenya is asking, what do you say about those who don't drink alcohol completely? Is it recommended not to take according to medical professionals? If you don't take alcohol, you have not started taking at all, and you really don't think you want to take alcohol, good of you, okay? No medical recommendation will say you take alcohol. I have not come across such. Recommended consumption of alcohol in South Sudan, I don't think this exists, probably not. Maybe I'll have to look it up, but I don't think it exists. We may just go with what other countries do or recommend. For example, what I shared earlier, like if somebody is consuming the 5% alcohol content, there are those drinks with the 5% alcohol content. Some of them, I mean, you could take not more than 10 of such bottles in a week, right? That means 1 or 1.5, and there is no half most times, right? So that is really what is health wisely recommended, okay? I find it hard to interact with a community that doesn't listen to Arabic, English, Bari. What best way should I use? I think I will leave this for the members online to help us all. If you find it hard, like, is it because of language barrier here, or is it because something beyond the language barrier, right? It might be something that other people also have, but once in a while, I think it is helpful to find a way to interact with the people we live with, okay? Attendance is there, please sign up. Somebody is complaining they are not getting their name. Can you help us by joining the camera? I tried, but the complaint is that my room is too dark, even though my light is on. I'm wondering what is going on. Yeah, so I think the others are with their names on the attendance sheet. So any hands up, Bida? Let's reflect.
Yeah, there's a hand from Piers.
Yes, go ahead.
Piers, you're welcome.
Pious or Pious, I don't know how you call it.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, I was a bit off network when you were explaining of the emotional well-being.
Okay. You'd like me to repeat that?
Yeah, if at all you can.
Of course I can.
If
For people who have been following throughout, what is your reflection so far of what we have covered? Well, Buda, you will be checking out for any reflections that are coming through. This is how I like my presentations, whether virtual or physical. I appreciate feedback and what people think about what I may have captured. Romeo, go ahead.
These are very, very, very important things. Actually, I think I've learned a couple of things from you, more especially in the part of, the emotional and the physical part of how to handle your own well-being. Maybe just to show a little bit of some light. I worked in a very toxic environment, I remember, which had a very serious training in my own emotions. But when I realized that actually some of these things work together, it was great. My emotion was drained, which was even affecting my physical well-being. So what I had to do was to jump in and take like a few of these advice. I mean, I Googled out a lot of things, but nothing was really coming into place. But I realized that the first step is, as you have said, realize who you are, know exactly like what are the pointers of what is taking you to behave the way you behave. So like what you're saying, like this really ended in me because it's something I've been struggling to actually, cope up and begin doing slowly. It is something that is good. Though one thing that I'm struggling around is of course the part of the physical part, to do exercises to move from one place to another. But I've decided a few things like short distances, I have to use at least either foot or use a bike instead of using boda or a car. And then to just do like a few exercises. And of course, that is really helping a lot. And you saying this again is enhancing how much that is of importance. So thank you so much. Like, thank you a lot.
Thank you so much, Romeo, for sharing with us your experience and for appreciating what we have so far gone through. I think I'm humbled to hear that from you. Any other reflection? Somebody wants to also share any experience from their side before we proceed? I've seen Noel asking what is the difference between personal well-being and subjective well-being.
We have a hand from Guo Christine,
Okay.
Doctor.
Yes, please let her go ahead.
Yes, Christian, you can carry on.
Go,
Yes, I'm
Christine.
muted on.
You are muted.
Go.
And I see others are unmuted. Do you want to speak? People like Mota, Will.
Yeah, I
And
want
Pius,
to add
I think
something
you can.
small.
Pius, you can.
I think
You
after
can unmute.
let
Yes,
us
Mota.
maybe okay. What I wanted to add is that like managing, like improving your personal well-being. According to me, how I manage mine is I have to differentiate what makes me happy. Like if I'm stressed, which other activities makes me happy, and also I have to know what causes the stress in me. So that, like for example, if I'm stressed because of A, and if I know that maybe B makes me happy, then I devote to it. So it's all about like knowing what makes you happy. Yeah, this is according
Thank
to
you.
me.
Thank you, Mr. Mota. Thank you. Right. So the question by Noel is asking what is the difference between personal well-being and subjective well-being. I think it's more of English words here now, personal and subjective. When we talk of anything being subjective, many times if I say for example that what example do I want to give about subjective? Fine, let me take you to what we say signs and symptoms. Okay, medically, anything that is a sign, okay, anything that is a sign is what the medical person sees from the sick person. And what that medical person perceives of that sign is objective. Okay, it is up to the medical person to determine what does this sign actually refer to or imply or mean. That is objective. But medically, symptom is what the patient will tell the medical person and says maybe I have headache. This is something that the medical person cannot touch, cannot see, cannot feel, headache. So this is a subjective thing. A subjective, for example, let me say characteristic of a disease. So that becomes a symptom as such. So when you say subjective and personal well-being, I'm tempted to think that they are more or less the same. Perhaps I'll need to look it up and see if there's any clear differences there. But your personal well-being, if you say that you are really fit and happy and all this is your own subjective opinion that I may not do much about and I cannot dispute or verify, right? So I tend to think that they are more or less the same. Perhaps I will have to look it up and provide feedback. Please, next time, let's have a specific session on mental health, well-being at workplace, So many people are stressed at work. Romeo, if I'm stressed at my workplace, I quit. Okay, that could also be another option, right? So I think that's my feedback to the chats, to the chat box, regarding whether we should have a specific workplace kind of health session. I'll leave that to Bida, and then we'll see. So for the sake of Pius, who asked about the well-being that he didn't understand, I said that well-being, emotional well-being, sorry, is defined by the World Health Organization as a positive state of well-being, which enables an individual to be able to function in society and meet the demands of everyday life. Emotion, okay? Emotional well-being. So this is something that affects your mind, right? Your reaction to things, your response to things, that is emotional. But then how does it affect your functioning? So emotional well-being, if you have or someone has emotional well-being, they are likely to function well in the society, and they are likely to be able to meet their everyday life challenges. Okay, so like I said earlier, the key here is to respond rather than to react. Okay, that is only if you are aware of your emotions and how they impact you, the emotions that you have, how they impact you, if you are aware of it. Let me give an example. If somebody is very short-tempered and is actually easily irritated or easily angered, that kind of a person, if they are aware that they are that type of a person, okay, and when they get angry, they can do anything really bad, including hitting someone, or even, you know that when you hit someone, depending on where you hit or what you use for hitting, somebody might die. So if you have that awareness that, I'm this very short-tempered person, easily angered, and when I'm angry, I really can hurt someone. If you realize that that is who you are, okay, emotionally, you should now begin to know that when I take this step forward, okay, I am going to either get an emotion of anger, and I might end up doing something really bad. So you are aware. So you will plan, how do you respond to that emotion should it come, the anger? Will you want to still hit someone, or this time you will want to walk away because of you're angry and you could do something really bad? So it's just that awareness of your emotions, and then being able to respond rather than to react to these daily challenges and demands, because you are aware that if you do this, the next thing may not be good. And then regarding the tips, we talked about connecting with the colleagues, family, and friends, being clear about your role at the workplace so that you are not emotionally affected by the work you do, asking for help when you ever need it, then recognizing the signs of stress and prioritizing your own self-care and emotional well-being. Okay, and then getting plenty of sleep and allowing time for your body really to relax and recharge. So these were some of the things we talked about emotional well-being. Others we said included physical activity. Being physically active also leads to emotional well-being, and then having hobbies that you rather turn your attention to than stay there with emotional issues, and then creating opportunities to learn, meeting new people, and caring for your physical well-being, as we already said. So these are some of the tips that can help us improve our emotional well-being. Right, so let's go on to the last part of our presentation, our webinar. Yeah, thanks for the reflections, every one of you, including those who shared their personal experiences. Now, wellness packages. Ladies and gentlemen, it is very difficult to really confess that you are really well. You may wake up and you don't feel any body pain, no bad sign on you, and so on. It is very difficult for you to know. And there are certain silent sicknesses and illnesses that people end up suffering from, others even end up dying, that could have had a different direction if they were actually diagnosed early and maybe managed early. Okay, so because of that we can have silent sicknesses in our bodies, we have in some places things that we call our wellness packages, a package for a certain group of people that if you belong to, this is a wellness package for you, that you need to get it at regular times to help you catch disease and sickness early in its early stages, and therefore be able to get the best possible care. So to live a healthy life requires one to be aware of disease risk factors, especially risk factors for chronic diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, and cancers. Okay? Like I said, these three chronic diseases are actually silent. They are mostly silent. By the time somebody really begins to feel the symptoms and maybe they develop the signs and they go to the medical facility and somebody diagnoses them with any of these, okay? Many times, especially for cancers, it would have gone way beyond the capacity of any medical facility or personnel to help. This is the most unfortunate bit. So wellness activities are paramount in helping people know if they have risk factors for chronic diseases, learn how to prevent disease risk factors, or help clients detect chronic diseases early before the onset of complications. Complications of a disease often are, worsening characteristics of the disease. Instead of it affecting one part of the body, many other parts of the body and organs get involved. That we call it complications. A sickness may have started at one part of the body and could actually be cured from that part of the body if it is curable, but because nothing was done about it, it spreads to other parts of the body and then develops complications that many times end up killing the person. Wellness activities include lifestyle modification to reduce risk of disease. And one of these that we mentioned in this discussion was smoking, and we said somebody should consider quitting, as well as undergoing routine medical checkups to determine disease risk and presence early. Okay, so what are these packages that somebody can get? I must underscore here that in South Sudan, I have not really come across a full-blown wellness package providing facility. But one of the facilities I had worked at is called the EB Clinic. And when I was with them late 2019 until somewhere in 2020, we had this discussion with the administration to have a wellness package that anybody, whether an individual or maybe an employer, can help their employees access these services at a certain cost and ensure that their employees are actually healthy and fit to work, that kind of thing. But also as an individual, one could be able to walk in there and say, I've come for a wellness checkup. And then depending on your age, your sex, the recommended checkups will be given to you, and then your findings and any necessary advice or medical directions and instructions are given. So, for example, for all adults of different, of both ages and, all ages and sex, these ones that are listed in this slide are recommended to be done 2 to 5 years, every 2 to 5 years, okay? For those who are below 40, and every 1 to 2 years for those above 40 years. For example, there are things we call vital signs. Why are they called vital? Vital, as you know, is important. That's just English. But vital signs such as the rate of your breathing, which is called respiratory rate, the heart rate, the number of times the heart beats in a minute, and then the blood pressure. These three are very important because if someone is a sick person and is before us and one of these signs is out of range, all of these signs have their ranges that are considered normal for different age groups, of course. And by the time they fall out of range, either below or above the range provided, it is a sign that shows the medical person that something may be wrong, okay? Additional to this is temperature. But many times your body temperature, you feel it. And if it is hot, it is fever or something like that, you're able to tell. And you many times will really want to get help, right? So those are vital signs. Another that is added on is body mass index. This is just a calculation. My body weight in kilograms divided by my height, which is measured in square meters. And then they see there is also a range for what is normal and what is abnormal. And so for anyone below 40 years, please, even if you're not feeling sick, get your vital signs checked. You'll be told, what is your blood pressure today? How is your heart working? What is your body mass index? Are you gaining too much weight than you can afford to carry? or are you actually underweight, so that maybe you are not feeling well, or some sicknesses like cancers actually cause people to lose weight, that kind of thing. So this is one recommended wellness checkup. Another is general physical examination by a trained, sorry, I think, yeah. So another is a general, I think I highlighted this by mistake, sorry about that. So another one is a general physical examination by a trained healthcare worker. Here we mean a head to toe, looking for general signs and symptoms, signs of disease actually, a head to toe. So you can walk to a facility and say, please, can you just do for me a general exam? Most times we are looking at, your head, your eyes, your ears, your mouth inside there, your hands, your armpits down to the toes, and be able to tell. For women, I think it should appear somewhere. If it is not, I will add it. For women, we may want to do a breast examination. Okay, so these are part of general physical examination. If anything is caught in that moment, we can be informed that something may not be well, and then a recommendation is given, maybe another test, another investigation, things like that. Eye check, I've mentioned that. We check for, are you able to see clearly, vision, or do you differentiate colors well? Or you mix green and blue and you say all of that is yellow, that kind of thing. Another test is called complete blood count, CBC. This can be done also routinely if you want. It tells us a lot of things, including how much is your red blood cells, how much is hemoglobin in your red blood cells, what about your white blood cells. It is, as you see the name, complete. So all blood cells and other parameters are counted, and the amounts are written there. Depending on the range for the age, we will be able to tell whether something is right or wrong. Sugar profile, there is one thing called random blood sugar. Okay, this is very helpful, especially in determining if somebody has diabetes, and it is one of the most common and the first common tests people do, and can begin to tell that somebody might have diabetes. For others, including those who actually have diabetes are on treatment, there's another test called HbA1c that is used for monitoring their response to treatment. You don't need to know all this in detail, but I'm just highlighting. Sometimes we want to know the lipids or the fats. There are fats in our bodies, as you may remember, I don't know, primary 5 science, digestion, okay? There are certain fats that are called cholesterol. We want to know how much is it in the blood. Sometimes when this goes up, people get very serious sicknesses, including things that kill in a minute, like heart attacks, okay? Or even strokes. So lipid profile or fat profile will be helpful. We can look at kidneys. How are they functioning? Are they affected in one way or another? We can look, there are things that we look out for to know if a kidney is working well or not. Liver, how is it functioning? Of course, these will tell us whether there is kidney disease or liver disease. Renal here refers to kidneys, just for the sake of those who are not of medical background. Okay, so liver disease, we can do liver function test. Urine, we can check for infections in the urinary tract. Okay, but also sometimes kidney disease can be seen from a urine test result. And then for those who may have heard a lot about gout, I think it's a very common prescription in Juba, sometimes not really correct. There is a chemical in the body called uric acid. If it is measured, can also determine. Infections such as syphilis, hepatitis, all these are very basic general wellness checkups that should be done for anybody below 40 every 2 to 5 years. Please get them checked and then know them. But if one is above 40, it is good to do them every 1 to 2 years. All right, how about those already 40 and above? There are others here that need to be done 1 to 2 years, okay? Thyroid function tests. So the thyroid is another organ just in front of the neck. It produces hormones that are also called thyroid hormones. Sometimes they can go very high, other times they go very low for whatever reasons that are there. And then if those hormone levels are measured, they can also tell us what is happening. And sometimes you may have seen people with a very big swelling in front of the neck that they have lived with for years, what commonly is called goiter. Okay, that goiter may not so much affect hormonal levels, but still is another medical problem that can be solved. Okay, so for hormonal levels of the thyroid gland, there are functional tests that can be done to know. Then there are things that we call cancer markers. The word tumor here simply refers to cancer or a growth. Okay, so there can be cancers of the intestines, cancers of the liver, and so on and so forth, and other organs. They tend to have markers. Markers are just like when a chemical test is performed for that particular marker, it can tell the level of that thing. Let's say, let me just give an example like, I don't know, what do I say here? But all these cancers tend to have certain things in the body that go higher when it is that type of cancer. Okay, so it is that type of marker is called a marker for that type of cancer. There can be different markers for different things, really. So if somebody can access where these markers can be measured, it will be a very good predictor of whether somebody is healthy or not, or has early cancer or not. Okay. Blood in stool, in feces, to say, this can predict cancers inside the intestines or any organ in the abdomen. Okay. But other times it is things like also hemorrhoids, commonly called bowasir. Okay, sometimes people get blood in the feces. Cardiovascular tests. Cardiovascular really refers to the heart and the blood vessels in general. So such tests are there that exist and can tell us how is the function of the heart. Is the heart pumping well? Is it pumping less? Is it pumping so much more? Or is the heart swollen? Such kind of things. And then of course, for the blood vessels, we can know how is blood flowing from the body to the heart, from the heart to the rest of the body. These are other tests that can be done. For everybody from 40 years and above, these are all recommended. Routine chest x-rays, while chest x-rays also have their own other disadvantages and side effects, it is also good, especially if somebody has signs that may need an x-ray of the chest. They can tell us more things to do with even cancers in the lungs. And then of course, abdominal ultrasound, these are good to know what are the organs in the abdomen doing, how are they, okay? So for these age group brackets and 1 to 2 years, they can have such screening tests. Now for different ages and different sexes, cervical cancer screening, like I said, I think I should add the breast cancer one before I share the slides. So for women, there is what we call cervical cancer, cancer of the cervix. And if you remember your biology very well, cervix is one part of the reproductive organ of the woman, okay? And it's considered the neck of the womb or the uterus. So many times that part of the uterus gets cancers and they are called cervical cancers. They can be screened from 21 years and above. Any woman 21 years and above should really have screening for cancer of the cervix. If they are between 21 and 30 years, this screening can be done 3 to 5 years, every 3 to 5 years. If they exceed 30 years old, then it is recommended every 1 to 2 years. For men, especially 50 years and above, every 1 to 2 years, they should be done what we call prostate surface antigen, abbreviated as PSA. So this is for prostate cancer. Prostate is also another organ within the male reproductive organ, system. So this is one of the markers of cancers, but it is particular for prostate cancer. So if it is higher than normal, especially at this age, it is likely to predict chances of developing cancer of the prostate. HIV counseling and testing for all the sexually active. The National Ministry of Health has guidelines for HIV testing or counseling and testing. And I know that many times, even today, when people get a diagnosis of HIV, that they have HIV, they are almost always down. Emotional well-being disappears, right? But it is important that people get counseled and tested for HIV. And if they are found to have HIV, treatment is there, free and very effective. People live their normal lives and they continue to remain productive, okay? Psychiatric review for all, especially if somebody really feels they are not mentally well and they can afford to get a psychiatrist nearby, they should get a psychiatric review. Have a checkup health record book. Keep all your routine wellness checkups, okay? This will guide you for the next visit. What was done in the previous visit? What were the results like? And how in this current visit, any change in this and that, and that will be able to inform the next step, okay? Up to here, I didn't really do detailed referencing for those who are also to do with ethics in research or something, but I just highlighted some of the sources of this information and I acknowledged them here. And thank you all for listening. Time for comments and questions and answers. That's where I will stop for today. Or body mass index, I'm seeing a question there. Bida, it is up to you. Checking what is in the chat box.
Yeah, thank you so much, Leju, for the nice presentation. We've seen already, a couple of questions here, so I will just ask the questions. And do you want to handle them one after the other, or I should read them once?
The ones in the chat box?
No, the general questions that we have.
Oh, okay, one after the other then.
Okay, okay. So we have the first question. The first question is, does religious belief affect one's personal well-being, be it negative or positive? Religious belief, does it affect personal well-being, whether negative or positive?
Wow, that's a very interesting one. Okay, I hope I'm not going to answer that question and somebody either begins to become more religious or less religious, either way. But every form of religious belief, as we have discussed the different forms of well-being, okay, most likely will impact our emotional well-being in one way or the other, can still impact physical well-being and all the other well-beings. I'll use our current observations. Observation from current life, right? If one's religious belief teaches one to, for example, refuse blood donation, there are those beliefs, right? There are those denominations. Sorry to say, there are those.
Even there are others that say if you are sick, you just pray. You don't go to the hospital.
Exactly, right? There are others that say you don't need somebody's blood in your body. And yet this is somebody who actually needs blood medically, will die if they are not given blood. And there is blood that can be given and can save them, for example. There are those that, as you said, Bida, say, if you are sick, please pray, God will heal, okay? And then some cases actually exist of people who have HIV, and I know all of us in this call know that HIV at the moment cannot be cured. And these are people who have been taking medications. They are actually having very low viral load, amount of virus in the blood. And actually they are on treatment, they are doing well, okay? But then they get another religious concept and says, you know, pray and you will be fine, stop taking medications. I think, I don't want to say religious opinions and beliefs are bad or good, but you as a person needs to be able to assess your own life, your person, yourself, and know whether this religious belief that I have is going to impact any of my well-being forms that we have discussed. If it will, including even financial well-being, if it will, then that may not be a very good religious belief that you can stick to. But I will not tell you that stop it or don't stop it. It should be up to you to assess. And we've talked about general well-being and the different forms of well-being. I expect that you are able to determine what you should do to have well-being and health in general. Next question, Bida.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doctor. Yeah, in the meantime, I would like to remind all participants to please sign their attendance. This will help us give you the certificates at the end of tomorrow's session. So please sign the attendance. I have put the link in the chat box. We have a hand from Moga Joseph. Moga Joseph, you're welcome, please. 3 minutes or 2. Moga Joseph, and then after that, we will go to Guo Christine.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm Moga Joseph. I'm currently in Uganda. My question is, what are the causes of blood increment? Currently, I understand the normal one is from 12 to 16. But personally, I have 16.9. I don't know what is the cost and how to reduce it. That's one question. The second question is about diseases of the back edge, and these how do you call it? The ankle and those joint pain. They call it in Arabic what? I think there is a term they term it in Arabic. I don't know in English also those medical terms. But,
you mean rotuba?
Yes, rotuba. It's very common these days, and is also a killer disease these days. How do we? Is there treatment for it? How do we treat it? I think these are the two questions that I wanted to ask. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That is Moga. Thank you.
Yes.
I think let me respond to those. Yeah, so let me begin with the increment in blood. I think when you say you have 16.9 and the recommended, I don't know, you said is up to 16, probably you are talking about something called hemoglobin. Hemoglobin levels vary according to sex. Men tend to have more hemoglobin in blood than women. Just to provide you a background, hemoglobin is that pigment, the red pigment in the blood actually that carries the oxygen, okay? So the oxygen attaches to the hemoglobin and then it reaches the body cells. Now, as I said, women tend to have less hemoglobin than men. However, 16.9 is not something for you to worry about. It might depend on which laboratory. Again, another thing is that laboratories tend to have different ranges of what is normal and what is not normal. Sometimes depending on the machine they use, the manufacturer of the machine, okay, things like that, or maybe the reagents they use. These are all different and have different manufacturers. So 16.9 should be really, really fine with you. You don't need to worry about it. If you're asking things that cause elevated or increased hemoglobin, one of course is less fluid, less water in the blood. If there's less water in the blood tends to be more concentrated and can give even a wrong high level of hemoglobin, which is actually not a true high level of hemoglobin. But there are over time other things, including even cancers, that can result in increased hemoglobin levels or generally blood cell levels. They are there. I may not go into details of each of them, but that is the situation. And for you, for your case, I don't think you should worry about that hemoglobin. It is actually perfectly normal for most laboratories. 16.9 is good. The diseases of the joints, the bones, the muscles, the rotuba and so on, similar to typhoid, especially in Juba or South Sudan generally, similar to gout. These are all diseases in this country that tend to be overdiagnosed. Like more people are said to have them when actually majority of such people, if well investigated, do not tend to have them. Sometimes it is who the person has gone to. Sometimes it is maybe the test they use, because different tests can give different results, and one sickness can have different tests available, and yet one test will be superior to the other, like will be more recommended or more diagnostic than the other. And yet these places people go to tend to have the one test which is actually less detective of the problem, cannot detect most of the times the actual problem. So I think that is the problem we have in this country, that I don't think I should tell you something specific on what to do or not to do, but I will recommend, if someone has gone to a drugstore, especially within Juba, and is screened and they are told they have any of these three things, maybe typhoid and maybe gout or rheumatoid, I mean the rotuba, okay? Try to seek another opinion elsewhere, preferably in a bigger facility, medical center or even hospital, and compare notes, you might realize that the result you would have got from another facility is not very, very true. So I think that's what I can say. Moga, I hope I've really answered you well. Bida, is there anything else?
Yeah, with a couple of hands up. And remember that if we don't answer all the questions here, you can still ask your questions in the WhatsApp group and you should be able to respond to them. So we are going to give the next chance to go. Kristen, you're welcome. You unmute first. Your mic is off. Put on your mic.
Okay, let me take the chance.
She's okay now, and then we will move to the next.
Okay, I was trying to say that thank you for Dr. for taking us through this discussion. Now, my point is, according to what he has discussed, I also realized that what does malaria or typhoid causes a high rate of heartbeat and kind of maybe weaknesses in the body. And then another point is wanted to know about like what causes frequent infections, especially when you have done a medication, maybe especially as sometimes we experience this UTI and then candidiasis. You can find that you can do the medication and then within a short time again, you find that you also infected back. So maybe they can tell you to go back after 2 weeks for review and find that the same symptoms are there. What could be the factor of the frequent recurring of the infection?
Thank you, Go. I don't think I've got your first question well. Can you please repeat?
She's saying that why is it that people regularly fall sick? Issues of regular, like being sick regularly.
Okay.
Infection.
The infection one, I've got it. The first question was.
Like from our side, especially with the ladies, normally the common things that we experience is UTI, and then you find that you can go for a medication and they will tell you you have a urinary tract infection, then it could give you maybe medication. But within a short period of time, you find that when you go for the review, you find the same symptoms, yet you were prescribed medicines. So we now don't understand. You find yourself all the time, you're treating the same thing for several times. So what could be the cause?
Thank you. I've got the point. I really think that if someone diagnosed urinary tract infection or UTI in short correctly and they prescribed the right treatment, somebody should be healed in 5 days to 1 week's time. And there should be really no big deal about it, especially if it was diagnosed early enough. If there are situations.
Okay, that's the case. Maybe you guys can put that in writings because it's the major thing that most of the girls experiencing. And it's also very important and as a matter to discuss, it will help the young girls around.
Thank you. When I started the presentation, I had said that this discussion will not be for personal prescriptions and diagnosis as such, but I'm more than willing to guide as much as possible, okay? So I was saying that if they become recurrent urinary tract infections, okay, it happens. People do get recurrent urinary tract infections. Then the next step should be to change the investigation, the test done. Instead of doing a mere plain urinalysis, which is the commonest test, one can be able to take a sample of that urine, take to, for example, in Juba here, I think somewhere in Mobile, there is a laboratory there that can test, can do a test that we call culture and sensitivity. In culture and sensitivity, the sample taken is put in a container and allowed to stay there for 48 to 72 hours, 2 to 3 days. It allows the bacteria to grow and they can be able to know what kind of bacteria this is, you know, culture and sensitivity. So that should become the next test that somebody should order, and then the right medicine that can really treat that bacteria is prescribed, okay? Because sometimes the cause of the infection may not be a bacteria that is treatable by some of the common antibiotics that are being prescribed. So for things like okay, yeah, for things like candida and things like that, candidiasis commonly affects women who have somehow their immune system is weakened. Okay, what causes weakening of immune system can be many things, but most common is pregnancy. In women with the pregnancy, they can many times be treated for candidiasis throughout the pregnancy. It's more or less a normal thing, because during pregnancy, the immune system and response is reduced. And that is a very good thing, because it allows the body of the woman to keep the baby inside it until it is born. Okay, so that kind of normal reduction in immune strength tends to expose pregnant women more times to candida. So any other thing, even in a non-pregnant woman, which reduces the strength of the immune system, is likely also to expose them to candidiasis. Okay, so those are some things. I know maybe somebody's trying to think of use of public toilets and washrooms and things like that. There has really been no clear science or study to confirm that using public washrooms brings about infections such as urinary tract infections. Okay, so that's what I will say. Again, if somebody is treated with a one medication for any infection, and soon after that they have to go back for another, and it is the same sickness, it will be better the person managing this kind of a patient things beyond the ordinary infection. I think I'll leave it at that. Well, thank you for the question. Bida, anything? I see number of people is dropping.
Yeah, and actually our time is actually up. Maybe we just give Mandenya, Jilly, and then Angel 1 minute, please. 1 minute, and then Leju, you can answer their questions in the chat box.
Exactly, I'm looking through them.
Or in the WhatsApp group. Yes, Mandenya.
Okay, thank you so much. I am Mandenya Samuel. I actually appreciate Leju for the wonderful presentation today. My question is just, what does somebody who is from a non-medical field or career need to, what kind of knowledge or what level of knowledge does he need to know so that he will be in position of like having a personal well-being? So what kind of knowledge, what level of knowledge that somebody who is from a non-medical field need to have? That is my question.
Okay, thank you.
All
And then
right.
Jilly.
Okay, Jilly is right here. Yeah, Leju, so I am, you can call me a survivor of throat tumor. And yeah, I had a throat cancer before, and it was like I was fortunate that it was discovered at the first stages, and yeah, I'm fine now. But at some point, sometimes I also like started like having some issues with my chest. I don't know how. What do you know about that? Because I've done the chemotherapy and all these stuff, and it was done. But so like nowadays, I've started developing some chest pain. And the thing with me is that I'm still smoking even after all this.
Thank you for sharing your experience.
And then Angel.
Yeah, thank you. My question is more or less the same with the last speaker on the chest X-ray. I also happen to be one of the victims of chest pain that started since 2012 up to date. And I'm still at the age of 30s. So what are the consequences of frequent X-rays? Because I think I had 2 X-ray and now I was advised not to go for another X-ray because it is bad. I really wanted to know what are those effects of the chest X-ray? Thank you.
Okay, then, yeah, thank you so much for your questions. Just to the rest of the participants, if in case you have signed your attendance, you are free to drop from the call because our time is literally up. And then Leju can address the 3 questions that have been raised by the participants. So in case you have filled attendance, you're free to leave, and see you tomorrow in the next session. Thank you so much. Over to you, Leju.
Thank you, Beda, and I appreciate everybody who has attended this as they drop off. I also thank you for the active participation. I am humbled by all the positive comments in the chat box regarding my presentation. Thank you all so much. As they drop off, I look forward to meeting them again tomorrow. Now, to the questions asked, I think they are very, very excellent questions. Level of knowledge for a lay person to have on health. I don't want to give a boundary, okay? I would rather give you a caution on what will you use that knowledge for or against, okay? I want to believe that in the Western world, I mean the Europes, the Americas, and so on, lay people are so knowledgeable and they actually have so much medical knowledge that it helps their doctors, their medical person who will see them in the next visit. It helps such people actually to make their diagnosis very easy, straightforward, and management is very easy and most times is to the point. And many times, therefore, such people live relatively healthy lives. So having as much medical knowledge as you can, even if you're a lay person, not a medical personnel, is helpful, is good, okay? Because it helps you to actually know sicknesses and it helps you to know if I'm given this medicine, I should take it this way so that I get well, and so on and so forth. But the caution I have is that sometimes people misuse this knowledge, especially in Africa, maybe in South Sudan specifically, to begin to argue with the next person they see, the doctor. Oh, but doctor, I think I should know. When you begin to use that medical knowledge to determine what kind of treatment you need to have, that is where it becomes a detriment to your health. Okay, and it is even worse with the many patients who tend to Google up information. They may have a cough and then they go to Google and type their causes of cough. You will get a list of 20, 40 things that can cause cough. And then you get confused. You don't know which one is which. Okay, so the question here is that get as much medical knowledge as possible. It's good for you, good for your doctor, but make sure that when you see the doctor, listen to what the doctor tells you based on the doctor's assessment, knowledge, and experience. Because what you may get from Google is simply information that is provided there. Some of the information online, especially certain websites, is really unverified medical information that somebody just posted. And if you now take everything there as the truth, it will become also a problem, okay? So get the information as much as you want to have it, but please don't use that information to determine for yourself the kind of treatment you need. So I will leave it at that.
Thank you, I got it. Thank you so much.
Our colleague Ejili, thank you for sharing your experience. You're asking what could be the cause of your current chest issues. I think for the sake of confidentiality, I will not want to discuss this with you. Rather, I will encourage you to maybe discuss this personally with me and then we see how to proceed. But I appreciate you for sharing with us your experience. And I think this is really helpful for others to learn from. So I'll leave it at that. Please, if you are interested, you can pick up with me privately and then we'll see how to proceed. Consequences of frequent
X-rays. So much.
You're welcome. Consequences of frequent X-rays. X-rays, the most important problem with it is that it can cause cell damage. You know, it uses rays. These are electronic rays, and these rays are known to cause cell damages. Now, these cell damages sometimes result into cancers over time, okay? If not cancers, some of these cells, when they are damaged and then they end up continuing to produce damaged cells, they will ultimately become part of the body's inheritance, or what we call the gene, okay? And therefore they can be passed to another generation. Okay, so these are what we call mutations. They can cause mutations or changes in the genes of the body, which may result in bad outcomes for future generations that will be given birth to by the current generation going through X-rays. But the biggest, of course, is that one of causing cancers over time. So that is the biggest problem with the frequent X-rays. Bida, if you allow me, let me read what is in the chat box and then and get back to them. I've seen a lot of appreciation.
Okay. You can read.
Thank you. I've seen a lot of appreciations. Thank you all so much. What is body mass index? Like I said, this is just a medical indicator of somebody's weight, body weight in comparison to their height. Okay, so my body weight is measured in kilograms. If I am 90 kilograms, then my height is measured in meters. And then that height, let's say I'm maybe 1.5 meters tall, then it is multiplied by 1.5 again. So it is a square meter. Now, the body weight of 90 kilograms is divided by that result of the square meter. So 1.5 times 1.5, and then you divide 90 by the result of that. So if I can maybe use a pen here, for those who are still online and are seeing my projection, if I can use a pen here and say, let's say my body weight is 90 kilograms, okay? So I'm 90 kilograms, and then I'm weighing 1.5 meter. So 1.5. This is my height in meters, okay? So this one will be multiplied by itself, what we call square. So it will be like 90 kilograms divided by 1.5 square. So what I get as the result of this calculation is my body mass index. And body mass index has a range as well, normal range. If someone falls below that normal range, okay, most times somebody is considered to be malnourished, undernourished, okay, is having less BMI than they should have for their height and weight or age. But if they are also exceeding above the normal range, they are considered to be either overweight, okay? So if somebody is overweight or actually obese, if somebody is overweight or obese, they tend to have chances of developing these chronic sicknesses like diabetes, hypertension, and they could die of any complications of those sicknesses. I think I have answered that hopefully adequately. If someone still wants to know more about it, they can contact me and I'll respond. The next one is what? So what is body mass index? I've answered. As a doctor, how will you tell a person who suffers from chronic anemia? Oh, so now this kind of physical assessment, I don't think that I should go into the details of such, but instead I would rather say for the lay person, okay, for the lay person, how would you tell that somebody might be having anemia? The commonest signs for anemia are seen in the hands, in the palms of the hands, okay, in the eyes. So when you pull down the lower eyelid, okay, when you pull down the lower eyelid, you see inside there, instead of it looking pink, it looks whitish or what we call pale, you know. And then many times also they get easily tired because of low hemoglobin, because of the anemia, they are not having enough oxygen. So the little they have doesn't make enough energy, so they are easily tired. Those are some things you can be looking out for. But I don't think I should go into the details of that here. But Dusman, Florence, if you need more, maybe we can touch base on that. I have ever seen people with the swelling body parts, e.g. at the neck side, and some people used to say that those are signs and symptoms of tuberculosis. So what's your actual saying on this? It is possible. It is possible it can be TB, but all those swellings can have so many other causes. So it is not right to only specify and say it is TB. Please don't tell someone that because you have swellings of around the neck, now you have TB. TB is one cause, I agree, but there are many others, even including any infection from around the arm to the hand, because the blood that goes back to the heart will still pass through some of these parts of the body, okay, including through the neck. So if there's any infection, you know, the swelling comes because the body is trying to respond to that kind of infection, and it causes some body structures called lymph nodes to swell. So that should not be the only picture of TB. There are many other things. The recommendation will be such a person needs to be assessed in a health facility. Today's training was really so educative for someone like me, IT guy, and not from a field, a health-related field. Thanks. Okay, I appreciate that. Lemi, thanks. Maximum, what's the maximum blood pressure that a normal person should be at? Somebody sent this privately to me. There is a range, as I said. You know, blood pressure is often written in two figures. One figure up, so the average for someone to have is 120, okay, 120. So that's the average. So 120. This is the upper figure. If somebody wants details of what the upper and the lower figures represent, maybe they should also contact me and I can give them more information. So the average for the normal people, adults, is 120/80. That is blood pressure, but it is a range, okay? From 100/60 to around 140/90. So it is a range. So anything that falls within there is considered normal pressure. What is next? What is next? Am I lost? Okay, so I've answered that one of blood pressure. What are the causes of sudden death? My cousin died 2 days ago, suddenly when he was well the whole day. Then around 11:30, started vomiting with what we call locally DDoC, and he passed on before being taken. Sorry about that loss, Moga. Sudden death causes are also very many, sometimes depending on somebody's age. One of the commonest causes is, of course, the chronic sicknesses, especially in the older ages, diabetes, hypertension. These two especially can cause stroke, or they can cause heart attack. Stroke is just injury to the brain. And when it happens in a brain part that is important for, maybe responsible for things like your breathing or your blood circulation and all this, it can really cause a quick death. Sometimes it happens in the heart, what we call heart attack. And when the heart is unable to pump, you know, somebody can easily die. So there are many, again, sudden death causes of sudden death. I may not want to point at any of these really here. You know, the best would have been postmortem analysis and a report. I really appreciate you for today's session. Though I've been of the medical point of view study, I'm really pleased. Okay, thank you. Thanks for the nice presentation. Thank you. What's the best way to borrow money for financial well-being? Wow. I don't think this one falls in our discussion. I don't think this one falls in our discussion.
I think the help part is good. The help part is better.
Yeah, if you are still online, please, I'll ask you to be in touch with the Bida and you join the next session on financial management. You might get an answer to that.
Okay.
Very happy.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate it because I'm going to leave now. And thank you so much. I will get in contact with you about my issue.
No problem, sir. Thanks so much for joining. Have a good day.
Okay.
Thank you.
You too.
Discussions, lectures. I appreciate that. What's the normal range of the human body mass? Body mass index. Okay. So it should be 18 to 25. So it's just one figure and it's an index. So anything below 18 is considered somebody is undernourished. From 25, above 25, you are overweight. But when it hits above 30, you are considered obese, okay? Thank you for, so much. Struggling to find the right words to properly describe how fantastic your presentation was, or don't struggle to look for words. I appreciate your thanking of me for the presentation. Bida, can I say over to you?
Okay, thank you so much all for attending this training. Remember, tomorrow is day 2, the same time, and we look forward to seeing you all. Maybe you can stop recording. Are you recording on your computer or on the cloud?
On my computer.
Okay, you can just stop recording, and then if you have signed in your attendance, thank you all. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.
Right, thank you, Bida. As they log off, I hope that many of them will join. I think tomorrow's session is going to be more interesting and more of experience sharing. So we might exceed the 2-hour limit. I want to warn people so early. So Bida, please take note of that. Thank you.